me, this has basically become a channel where I just discuss trauma, the consequences, what I've learned. I would not call myself a life coach or anything along those lines, because at the end of the day, I'm fucking 16. Am I extremely mature 16 because I had to grow up so fast? Absolutely. But like, I'm gonna give you advice. Think about it, try it, and if it fucks up, I'm sorry. You know? I'm probably a disorganized attachment style, which is a fearful avoidant, but I'm way more leading to the avoidance side. Like, occasionally I can act anxious, and this is all about this psychology attachment style, and it's basically like how your parents treated you, your caregiver treated you growing up, is how you connect to other people. And I didn't get my needs met, and what I learned is you can't rely on other people. The only person you can rely on is yourself. That's what I learned, and I know that isn't typical for women. I know it's normally women are anxious and men are avoidant, and then disorganized attachment is what I probably am. Is not really talked about, but I'm more, I'm a bit anxious, a smidge, but like I'm very avoidant. Like, it takes me weeks of not being with someone to finally realize how much I miss them. I'm a very particular case of attachment where it's like, when I am officially in a connection, like long term, like let's say I'm in a friendship for a good 6 months, a year, and I trust them, that's when I start acting normalish. Am I always a bit distant? Yes. But at the same time, I'm one of those people, I really struggle getting into a connection, but when I'm in a connection, I am loyal as fuck. So loyal. Like, I will genuinely take a bullet for anyone who I care about. Anyone I even care about slightly, I'll take a fucking bullet for them. I might not be the most emotional, I might not get vulnerable enough, but when I get vulnerable, it means so much, and I feel like a lot of people, they'll see how smiley and like how much I laugh and stuff like that, and they won't think there's depth to my personality, and they won't think, like, they won't realize what's really underneath all the, like, laughter, the jokes, all that. Like, I do very good with people who are also avoidant. Like, I know there's this whole, like, especially in relationships or whatnot, and like, I'm not going to talk about my love life on here, because to be honest, that's something I don't want to get into, and a lot of you are like weirdly kind of in love with me, and it's like, thank you, buddy. I don't know. Well, not in love with me. You know what I mean. So, like, I know, I feel like there be a couple of tears where I was like, oh, went into my love life, but it is what it is. Like, typically, I do very good with avoidance. I know, like, in a lot of relationships, it's normally anxious and avoidant. Like, when they're fucked up attachment style. That's what normally is apparent, even though they want completely different things. It's just how it happens. But it's like, in my personal friendships or whatever, there's a huge distance there, but there's deep care. Like, when I finally open up to someone, I'm willing to open up again if they have a good response. It's just, it takes me a lot of time, typically, to open up to someone. There are certain people, I've just met them and I've been willing to open up and stuff like that. But that's very rare. I was a kid and I had to do everything for myself. If I didn't cook food, there's this time I didn't cook food for myself, right? And I was so hungry, I fainted. And if I didn't wash my clothes, the clothes were dirty. If I didn't, like, wake myself up in the morning, wasn't going to school. If I didn't do something, if I didn't wash my, yeah, you know, um, if I cried, every single time I cried, my mum, she horrifically yelled at me and told me that she'll give me a reason to cry. You know, one time I cried and I got kicked out the house. Every time I cried, I got yelled at. You know? It took me so long to finally be okay with crying because of everything that happened to me when I'm crying. Like, the consequences of me crying were so bad growing up that I used actually full on slap myself just to stop crying. I full on, my method was, you gotta factor in I was on 12 at the time. If my mum did something really fucked up to me and I started crying, I'd get Bacardi or vodka, I'd fucking chug that straight, then to like kind of like distract myself, then I'd just like fucking slap myself either side, right? And then 1 or 2 tears would come down, so that's when I'd go to the bathroom and just like put water all over my face so you wouldn't see the redness under my eyes. Like, nowadays, I've cried so much my eyes don't even go red anymore. You know, like the way when like everyone cries, like it kind of goes red under their eyes, or but I think I've just cried so many tears I don't fucking get that anymore. And I'm sorry if I kind of laugh or something like that because it's kind of like my coping mechanism. But yeah, and it's like my daddy fucked off, you know, and it's like in every connection I've had with an adult and I was in the child role or whatever, I've been let down. I don't think I can think of a single one, especially from my family, where I've not been let down. Okay, this one's gonna be very heavy and I can just feel it. And for years and years and years and years, I didn't have any friends. I had to survive horrific abuse, and I didn't even have a single person in my life that I desperately needed at the time. I had no one to tell me that what my mum was doing was wrong. I had no one to even distract me from anything. I probably wasn't a good idea to wear makeup today. You might just, well, if I have black mascara tears running down, it will be good for dramatic sake, but I had absolutely fucking no one. You know, and because of that, I'm okay without having people. I'm able to survive. But at the end of the day, I'm a person and I kind of strive for human connections even with how much they've hurt me, even with how much trust I have and trust issues I have. And then I think I was around 10, 11ish. I got friends, right? But I was so desperate for attention because my mum, she basically discarded me because I was like recovering from being a codependent and my emotions cut off. Basically, I was so overwhelmed because I was basically my mum's codependent little fucking handmaid. I was doing absolutely everything around the house. Fucking everything. I was cooking the dinners, I was cleaning the fucking place, I was cleaning the clothes, I was just doing way too much. My mum, I was basically my mum's fucking therapist. Like, she'd tell me all the shit she'd been through, and then she kept on trying to tell me trauma she'd been through, but I went through so much that my emotions just cut off. And then I was still cooking, I was still cleaning, I was still doing fucking everything, but just because my emotions cut off and I couldn't be like, oh, that's so sad that fucking happened to you, even though that you were the most abusive cunt nut man. She basically discarded me and she basically started verbally abusing me and other stuff, you know. And when I started to kind of distance myself from my mum that way, I was so desperate for friends that I used to lie about stuff I did. I just lied about everything because I was made feel so worthless about myself. I didn't think anyone could want to see me for actually me. I didn't think anyone would want to talk to me for me being me, you know? And I was just desperate for attention. I'd try to say all these jokes. I feel like a big part of why I'm actually kind of funny now. I know you don't really see the funnies like me making jokes. I think a big part of the reason I'm so good at making jokes and making them smile and shit like that is because um it it's one of the few things that make people want to be around me. You know, like, oh, if I make them laugh, maybe I'll have friends. That type of thing. You know, and so I gained friends because I was telling jokes, I was telling all these lies, and I slowly did gain friends, but I ended up fucking it up because eventually I was too desperate for attention, and because my mum never taught me how to shower, and because, yeah, I was a kid, she never taught me how to shower. The shower barely fucking worked. It was... So I was basically known as the stinky kid. And I found, and this kind of hurt me so much, but looking back at the few friends I actually had, she basically told me that, Miss Spaghetti, every single person at your table that you've been moved to said that they didn't want to be at your table because they said you stinked. You know? And I was just I was just a neglected little fucking child, man. You know, I was just I got taught absolutely nothing. The only shit I fucking know how to do is what I taught myself. You know, I never had a fucking parent, you know. My dad fucked off. My mum used me. I was just fucking used and abused. Like, that genuinely was the first 15 years of my fucking life. Just getting used and fucking abused. You know? And because of that, people fucking terrify me. It scares me when someone gets close. It absolutely fucking terrifies me. But I've been so unloved. I'm desperate to have people that care about me. So it's this fucking paradox where I try to push people away, but then I also want them at the same time. And I'm trying to be more healthy, but I'll never forget how fucking low I used to feel. I'll never forget the feeling of just complete and utter fucking loneliness I felt. Like, the complete and utter despair when your mum fucking tells you she doesn't love you, your dad fucked off a year ago, and you have absolutely no friends. You know, you have absolutely fucking no one. And you are so young, and you are so overwhelmed, and you are just so exhausted and burnt out, and you don't have a fucking clue how to deal with the amount of despair you've just been put under. You know, so you just cry and you cry and you cry, and you've put yourself down on the floor and you're just crying. And then your mum fucks off because she's a bloody narcissist and she can't deal with the consequences of her own actions. And then she comes back around 10 minutes later and be like, what's wrong? So she can try to get you to stop crying so she doesn't have to feel the fucking wound of realizing, of getting reminded what a fucked up cunt she was. So then you're like, my mum, you said you didn't love me. You said you didn't love me. And then she's like, I never said that. Just to try to gaslight you. Just so she can feel better about herself. Just so she can fuck with your head once more and play some mind games and make you feel like you're insane. And that's why I'm distant. And that's why sometimes I don't show up the best. And that's why I don't text back fast. And that's why I'm scared about letting new people in. And that's why I'm a bit toxic. And that's why when I actually let someone in, I'll do anything for them. Like that, because I've just been hurt so badly. Like, so fucking badly. And it's like, it's not an excuse for treating other people like that, but this is all I fucking know. You know, the best way to keep myself safe my whole life has been to just keep people away. You know, that's I was so young and that's what I fucking learned. And I know I've hurt people, and I know I've hurt people by disappearing, and I know sometimes I don't show up enough, and I know I'm a fuck up. You know, but I really do care. I push people away when they get close to me. You know, this is when a friendship or a relationship, whatever the fuck, you know, family, whatever, when they actually get to start seeing me for who I actually am, I push them away for a bit and see how much they actually care. And if they stick around even after I've pushed them away for like a week or so, that's when I decide this is someone that's actually worth keeping around. And you know what? I don't advise you to put up with the type of bullshit I put people through. But what I will say is, I'm just speaking for myself. As a person who's avoiding this shit, if someone opens up to you, if an avoidant opens up to you, you mean a fucking lot to them. And what I will say is, if you make them smile, you show that you care. For the most part, they'll never fucking forget about you, because the few people who've showed they fucking cared about me, and they'll always hold a place in my heart, you know, even if we don't talk anymore. You know, even if I should have been better to them, I'll never fucking forget them, and I'll always be grateful to them. Anyone who's ever slightly fucking helped me, I'll always remember it. You know? And I'm trying to be better. You know? I think the biggest part about whether you should keep someone who has a fucked up attachment style in your life is whether they're working on it or not. You know, because I'm getting better. You know, like, I absolutely devote myself to the people I care about in my life. You know, and, you know, I'm basically trying to be better for them. You know, because at the end of the day, I'm so used to pain. I'm able to deal with it, but I can't live with myself if I put them through pain. You know, of course I'm gonna fuck up sometimes. Of course, I'm not gonna be enough sometimes, and of course I'm just, you know, I'm a person at the end of the day. But at least I'm trying, I suppose. But at the end of the day, just mind yourself. You know, care about other people. You know, you might be able to help an avoidant work through their problems, but you know, the relationship or whatever, the friendship, it's only worth trying that much if they're willing to put in the effort too. Like, what I will say is, when I really like someone, even with all my issues, I'll put effort in. You know, I'll distance myself when it gets a bit scary, but I'll quickly tell myself to cop on, and I'll apologise, and I'll make an effort. I probably don't apologise, I just make a bit of effort, which is it's a bit toxic still, but I'm trying. And sometimes my attempts aren't enough. And I understand if they don't want to stay in my life, but the people who've been willing to stay in my life, even with all my bullshit, my scars, and my fucking trauma, and my fucking damage, and my flaws, I make sure they're okay. You know, I'll forever make sure they're okay. You know, anxiously attached people scare the absolute living shit out of me, though. I can't tell who scares me more, the anxious attachment to the fucking secure one. Like, The secure one, what do you mean you're fucking messaging me every day and you're not ignoring me? And what do you mean you want to see me? And what do you mean that there's absolutely no complications here and you're just very straightforward with no complications or drama? Because I don't think it's right for me to date someone who's securely attached. Like, I know that's how I'd get the best relationship or whatever, because they, you know, they don't have the flaws, they don't have the fucking trauma, and it would basically be the two of us working through my fucking bullshit. But at least if I'm with another avoidant, at least we can try to work through our bullshit together. And does that double the load of what we have to try to, the challenges we have on a fight for, like, fucking a connection? Absolutely. But at least I'll feel less fucked up. Like, at least another avoidant will understand the space I need and the peace I need and the fact I just disappear sometimes. Do you know what? Maybe that's self-sabotage in my behalf, and maybe it's my trauma talking, maybe it's my fucked up attachment trying to avoid being emotionally attached to anyone. But what I will say is, the anxiously attached people, you gotta stay the fuck away from us. Just stay away. You know, because I don't want to break your heart. I really don't want to break your fucking heart, but I need my space and you don't want fucking space, and I have boundaries and you won't respect them, so I'll get pissed off at you and then you'll be pissed off at me because I'm not showing you enough. Just stay away. The anxious and avoidant, just don't do it. Just no. Like, even with how the recovery and shit I've done, even when I notice someone's anxious, I'm like, I can't even be friends with you. You need to get out the fuck out of my life. You know, because it's just terrifying. Well, actually, I think I have one anxiously attached friend, but like, hey, she somehow managed to get into my close circle, so like, yeah. I'm just a person, man. I have flaws. I've been through pain, but I try my best. I'm trying my best every day to be better, you know? I think this is my cue to go. Some of y'all need therapy. I don't know. Whatever your own form of fucking therapy is. Well, some of y'all just need tattoos. Yeah, that's me trying to justify getting the tattoos as a form of therapy, quote unquote self-therapy and distracting yourself from pain. Seems effective enough to me. Bye bye.